If you've been a Scrum Master for more than 2 years and you can't point to something you actually changed, not coordinated, changed, this channel is for you. Scrum isn't the problem. We are. In 2021, I was looking to hire a Scrum Master for my team. On paper, the market looked strong. Resumes everywhere. Certifications. Tons of experience. 20 interviews in, something felt off. I couldn't name it yet, but I knew I was wasting time. I ended interviews early, more than once. And these weren't junior candidates. These were people who knew the vocabulary. They could walk me through every ceremony. But when I asked one simple question, what have you actually changed? The room kept going quiet. I went through 60 interviews before I found someone I could work with. And honestly, she was just okay. After 60 interviews, okay felt like a win. And that bothered me more than the interviews did. So after that experience, I kept asking myself the same question. How did we get here? In 2018, 2019, around that time frame, Agile exploded. 6 figures, flexible work, no coding required. And the pitch was real. A lot of people came through the 3-day certification class and became Scrum Masters. There's nothing wrong with that. But here's what the class doesn't teach you. How to influence someone who doesn't report to you. How to read a room that's about to fall apart. How to build trust with a director who thinks Scrum is a total waste of time. That's not a framework problem. That's a people problem. And I felt it in every one of those interviews. I would ask how they handled a team that wasn't bought in, and the room would go quiet. Every time. That gap didn't appear overnight. It's built slowly, quietly, and nobody sounded the alarm. The leaders hiring these Scrum Masters weren't blind to it, but most organizations had already committed. We're going Agile, so they had to hire someone, and they needed them fast. For leaders with high standards, it became exhausting. Interview after interview, nobody moving the needle. And at some point, you just settle. I did, because I was tired. And that happened across the industry. Leaders didn't lower the bar because they wanted to. They lowered the bar because they had to keep moving. And once the standards dropped, there was no going back. Scrum Masters adjusted to the new standard. They fell back on what was safe. As a result, the role became easier to ignore. And we let that happen. Then AI showed up. I was working on a complex survey analysis recently. The type of work that normally took me at least a week. AI did this in 5 minutes. Think about what you did last week. The summaries, the status updates, the recaps. How much of that could AI have done? Be honest. If The answer is most of it. That isn't a technology problem. That is a positioning problem. And it's yours to solve. Most won't. A handful will. See, the gap was never technical. It was always present. I've seen a few people figure this out. David was one of them. Every meeting we were in together, he did something amazingly simple. Before we started, he'd pause and ask, what are we here to do? What do we want to walk away with? At the end of the meeting, he'd close it out the same way. What did we learn? What did we decide? What happens next? You've probably seen someone do that before. Perhaps you've done it yourself. But ask yourself honestly, did you mean it? Or were you running a play? Because David meant it. He genuinely wanted everyone in that room to live with clarity. And people feel that difference, even when they can't name it. That is presence. Meanwhile, most Scrum Masters are sitting on more leverage than they realize. So you run the ceremonies, you run the cross-team sessions. You see misalignment before anyone else does. You see what's forming before it's visible to anybody. And most people in that seat don't recognize what they're actually holding. They think it's coordination. It's not. And that's where they leave value on the table. So after every session, send a summary, not slides, not a link to Jira. A summary that translates what happened, what mattered, what the trade-offs were. Most people avoid this. They say leaders should self-serve on the metrics. After all, we're agile. And I laugh. They say things like, I shouldn't be writing meeting notes. I understand that instinct. But meeting notes are not transcription. What I'm describing is translation. And right now, that difference matters more than it ever has. The people getting invited into leadership rooms aren't getting there because of their certifications. They're getting there because they create clarity. That's what David understood. You have the same access, same meetings, same information, same room. So what's the difference? They chose to lead. You chose to facilitate. That's it. Certification is not competence. Facilitation is not ownership. Presence is not a personality trait. It's a choice. The Agile Manifesto turned 25 last week. And we are not where we should be. Over the next few months, I'm going to be raising the bar publicly. Consider this the alarm. If that makes you uncomfortable, good. Because discomfort is the first signal that you're operating below your potential. Stay. We're just getting started.